Hello, BookTube. Sorry to miss yesterday. I once again had company, and that company was once again very clingy. Very, very clingy. And as I've mentioned on this channel a few times, when you're presented with a choice between living, breathing company and making videos, you have to choose living, breathing company. That's all there is to it. Much as I adore the rest of you, you have to do that. So I did. And that ended up being a no video day at all, which is really bad. Not only really bad because I like maintaining our dialogue as often as possible, but also because in the back of my mind, even though it's impossible for 2018, I'm still thinking about that incredible milestone. The one milestone on this channel that I am absolutely sure is unique to me, which is 2,000 videos. We are now closing in on 2,000 videos. I mentioned that I think I roughly did the math. I haven't had anyone who knows math actually double check me, but I roughly did the math myself, and it looks like there's no way. It looks like I'd have to make about 6 or 7 videos a day between now and the end of the year, and that's not going to happen. That's absolutely not going to happen. Not just because I occasionally have company, I occasionally have other things to do, but also because in the last 2 weeks of December, my video production, my production of anything, my doing of anything in the present moment is going to slack off enormously. So we're not going to hit 2,000 videos in 2018, but we're going to do it soon in 2019 if I'm making videos in 2019. And that milestone's on my mind. I think there are probably other small distinctions on this channel. I think I've probably met more authors than any other booktuber. I think I've probably written more reviews than any other booktuber. But the main one, the one that's squarely in the wheelhouse of videos, of YouTube, is that I'm pretty sure no other booktuber has made 2,000 videos. So I'm looking forward to that. I have to figure out what I want to do if I even keep track of that number and notice when it's happening. I wonder what I should do to commemorate. But I know what I would do if I had technical ability. If I had technical ability, I would make a clip show, a 30-minute clip show of funny clips or whatnot from those 2,000 videos, but I don't have anything like that ability. So, but anyway, I thought we'd do a little mail. I don't know. Ordinarily, when I miss a day, I compensate by doing 6 or 7 videos the next day. I don't know that I'm going to be able to do that. This is a fairly socked time for obligations and work, and all of that has been made worse by the fact that I lost a lot of time to a clingy guest. So, but we still have time for mail anyway, so let's at least do some mail, and we'll see. Maybe there'll be more today. Right now it's just a handful of packages and no boxes. So let's see this first one. Oh, okay, great. All right, wonderful. This is the finished copy of a book I've already read. This comes out at the end of November. This is The Hazards of Time Travel by Joyce Carol Oates. I read it and liked it, and then I was summarily told by Britta Bowler that I needed to reread it, that it will only improve with rereading. And, you know, there's 400,000 booktubers out there, and as on BookTube as in life, there's a handful of booktubers, probably, I would say for myself, probably 2 dozen, where if they tell me something like that, I'm simply going to do it. I'm not even going to hesitate. I'm not going to question. I'm not going to say, oh, well, maybe they don't know what they're talking about. There's roughly 3 dozen of my fellow booktubers where if they say that, I'm just going to do it. And so if Britta says, no matter how much you liked it the first time, it really improves by rereading, so reread it, then I will reread it. So I will do that. I'm not sure, actually, without that kick in the keister, I'm not sure that I would have reread this one. Mainly because as much as I tend now to like this author, and as much as I really liked this book, I do tend to get a little annoyed by mainstream authors writing what they think of as science fiction, because they do it poorly. They have other agendas. They have other things they want to do in their book, and they do those. Joyce Carol Oates, for instance, in this book, has clear other agendas and does them really well, including the beginnings of a touching friendship. This is, to my mind, this has always been a fairly cold author emotionally. I don't usually associate the memorable portrayal of strong emotion in her novels. It's there, but it's never really jumped out at me. And I noticed it in this one. But nevertheless, as much as I can praise this author for this book, I can't praise the book for its use of what it calls science fiction. Time travel stories, to put it mildly, have a long pedigree in science fiction. And they have a lot of thinking out to do before they make even the beginning of sense, even in the nonsensical concept of science fiction. And usually, mainstream authors who indulge in a science fiction story, a time travel story, don't think it out well enough. Same way with Margaret Atwood, who has indulged herself sinfully in the whole science fiction gimmick of post-apocalyptic fiction, without thinking it through at all. Without actually sitting down and doing any world building whatsoever, which is the glory of science fiction, and ought to be the first thing you do if you're going to pay lip service to the genre. But one way or another, I still enjoyed this, and Britta is telling me that I will enjoy it more a second time, so I will read it a second time. So let's see. Let's move on. So that's a November book. That's good. I'm building my November shelf. November's a week old, and the shelf is still not full. You'll see. November might just be a slim month for me. Let's see what this next one is. Oh no. Okay. All right. This is, we actually saw this already. This is by Matthew Dennison. This is The Man in the Willows. A life of Kenneth Grahame, the author of The Wind in the Willows. When I got this originally, I got another advanced copy of this. This is a double. When I got this originally, I opined that Kenneth Grahame spent most of his time wandering around on mossy riverbanks and thinking long thoughts about thrushes and meadowlarks, and that therefore I thought maybe the book, even at this modest length, might be a little too long for an uneventful life. And a couple of people in the comments field and a couple of people via email informed me that I am dead wrong on that, that the man actually had a very dramatic life, full of incident, and that, if anything, this book looks short once you know something. I didn't know much about his life other than what he himself has written about it, and he clearly pulled a stereotypically British, stiff upper lip, covered in silence approach to some of the trauma in his life. So this will be the first actual biography of the man that I've ever read. But apparently some of you are hepper. You're more up on Kenneth Grahame than I was. So I stand corrected. This could be a very dramatic story. We shall see. But it's a double, so we can move straight on. Let's see what we have here. Oh, goodness gracious. Of course, these pull tabs don't ever work. Not from the very first time I did one on camera. So you just have to manhandle the package open. But this is another finished copy of what? Oh, okay, great. Oh, fantastic. All right. This is a November release. Yes, it's a November release. This is 17 by Hideo Yokoyama. This is it's kind of a confusing cover, but this is I've read a couple of books by this author and liked them. He wrote a big book called 6-4 that I read. It took me a long time reading that book to really get what it was trying to do, or rather the register in which it was trying to do what it was trying to do. It was strangely ambulatory and relaxed. So, and I have the advanced copy of this thing and haven't got to it at all. Let's see here. Yokoyama's extraordinary newsroom thriller 17 defies many expectations of the crime and thriller genres that Yokoyama is most often associated with. Patient and methodical, its tension builds slowly as its intricate and architecture reveals itself piece by piece. That I didn't understand at first when I was reading the previous book. Is that, yeah, it's extremely meditative. It's a game of chess in the guise of a thriller, which is, to put it mildly, not the usual approach. Where was I here? There is also no crime at the center of this novel, unless we have the real-life disaster of Japan Airlines Flight 123, a commercial flight that crashed into a remote mountain range near Nagano in 1985. Flight 123 remains one of the deadliest disasters in aviation history, but in this novel, the action of the catastrophe occurs just offstage. Yokoyama's focus is instead on the newsroom of a modest local newspaper which finds itself tasked with digesting a disaster of incomprehensible proportions. And that intrigued me. That intrigued me at the time. This author has found favor in my eyes. So I'm not against it. I just haven't got to this book. And now I have the finished copy, so now I have no excuse. So that's 2 finished copies that I need to reread probably this week sometime, or this weekend. And then we'll finish up. We'll finish up with this big cardboard box here. One of these vacuum-pressed things. Okay. Okay, this is another November release, and it's another book that I haven't read yet. Terrible, terrible. This is Eric Rochway. This is Winter War. Hoover, Roosevelt, and the First Clash over the New Deal. This book firmly debunks the prevailing myth that FDR tactlessly refused to cooperate with Hoover in steering the country during the interregnum between the two presidencies. Instead, the author illustrates how Roosevelt's victory at the polls was widely seen as a repudiation of the sitting president. And aware of the growing world crises, he used the time before taking office to demonstrate that he would devote his presidency to the preservation of American democracy. The author reveals how Hoover blocked FDR's moves wherever he could, spoke bluntly about the supposed danger of the New Deal, and attempted to convince anyone who would listen that FDR was not up to the task of the presidency, whether intellectually or physically. Okay, so it's going to be American history, but also a psychological war, and that fascinates me. It's presidential history on a level, an intimate level, that I really like it done on. I just haven't got to it. So all these November haven't got tos are the result of the monstrous obscenity that October was. 300-400 books in October. This is our concluding pile here is full of stuff that I'm going to be rereading or reading for the first time in November. Terrible. Like a common bridge troll. So we have Winter War, Hoover versus FDR. We have 17 by a Japanese author. This is what do you do if you're a small provincial newspaper and a disaster of world-class proportion happens right on your doorstep? It obviously exceeds the capabilities of your newspaper, but your newspaper still has duties. What do you do? That's just fascinating to me. Then Hazards of Time Travel by Joyce Carol Oates. That will be a reread. And The Man in the Willows, which I already have. I'm not gonna read it until the new year, so I will just wait on it. And that's it. That is the mail for today. Anyway, the first part of it. Here. Come and see your fans. There they are. Ooh, here they are. Who are those people? Anyway, we're going to go play with some cardboard. But I will see you soon. Thank you, BookTube.